The rain in this city doesn't wash away the sins. It just makes the grime slicker, harder to get a grip on. I stepped into the apartment on 4th and Main, the air thick with the smell of old paper and fresh blood. It was 3 a.m. The victim was sprawled across a mahogany desk, looking like a discarded bookmark in a story that ended too soon. His name was Owen Foster, a mid-level accountant with a face you'd forget while looking at it. But someone hadn't forgotten him. Someone had filed him away permanently. This is the Dewey Decimal of Death, Case 017. I'm the guy who picks up the pieces when the puzzle gets too bloody for the public. The date was November 12th. The city was freezing, shivering under a blanket of fog that tasted like exhaust and cheap regret. The trouble walked into my office 2 days earlier. Her name was Elena Martinez. She had the kind of legs that could stop traffic and the kind of eyes that could start a war. Dark, teary, and hiding a dozen lies. She wasn't a femme fatale in the classic sense. She was a librarian's assistant, nervous, twisting a handkerchief until the fabric screamed. She told me her fiancé, Owen, had been receiving strange letters. Not threats, exactly. Catalog cards. "Mr. Walker," she said, her voice trembling like a violin string about to snap. "He's being categorized. Someone thinks he's a comedy, but they're going to turn him into a tragedy." She put $500 on my scratched desk. The bills were crisp. The desperation in her scent, lavender and fear, was stale. I took the job, not because I cared about literature, but because my rent was due and the whiskey bottle in my drawer was dangerously light. "My door opens for cash, sweetheart," I told her. "Not for charity. If he's in trouble, I'll find him. If he's dead, I'll find who did it." Now, looking at Owen's body, I saw what she meant. He wasn't just murdered, he was curated. There was a label maker strip stuck to his cold forehead. It read, "Non-fiction, dull, discard." The room was a mess of overturned books. The police, led by Detective Brooks, were stomping around the crime scene like elephants in a museum, contaminating everything they touched. They saw a robbery gone wrong. I saw a system. I saw a meticulous mind trying to impose order on a chaotic world. Underneath the desk, hidden in the shadow of the wastebasket, I found a small, peculiar item the cops missed. A stamp. The kind used for due dates in the back of hardcover books. It was set to yesterday's date. The city is a library of billions of stories, most of them poorly written. The police read the summaries. I read the footnotes. That's the rule of the game. You have to be willing to ruin your eyes reading the fine print in the dark, because the truth isn't in the light. It's in the shadows, waiting to be checked out. I don't trust coincidences, and I definitely don't trust the official police report. Detective Brooks had already written Owen Foster off as a casualty of a break-in. He claimed a junkie looking for pawnable electronics panicked and pulled the trigger. It was a neat, tidy story, the kind that lets people sleep at night. But I don't sleep. I drink bourbon. I sat in my office, the amber liquid in my glass catching the neon flicker from the sign outside. The taste was sharp, burning the skepticism right out of my throat. Elena Martinez had lied to me, or at least she hadn't told me the whole story. Innocent people don't get labeled discard unless they've offended the archivist. I went back to the source, the Central Public Library, an imposing Gothic structure that smelled of dust and silence. I wasn't there to read. I was there to rattle cages. I cornered the head archivist, a man named Sebastian Reed. He was thin, pale, with fingers stained by ink and a suit that looked like it belonged in the 1950s. "Order is the only virtue, Mr. Walker," Sebastian told me, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. He didn't look at me. He looked through me, as if deciding which shelf I belonged on. Society is a mess of misplaced volumes. Some people, they simply don't fit the genre they pretend to inhabit. I grabbed him by his lapels. "And Owen? Did he fit?" Sebastian smiled, a cold, thin expression. He was boring, a clerical error in the grand narrative. That's when I saw it. On his desk, a list. It wasn't an inventory of books. It was a list of names: Liam Smith, Charlotte Jones, Noah Davis. And next to each name, a genre: romance, mystery, horror. Some were crossed out in red ink. Owen's name was crossed out. I broke into Sebastian's apartment later that night. It was a temple to obsession. No furniture, just rows and rows of filing cabinets. The hard-boiled truth was staring me in the face. This wasn't about money or passion. It was about a psychological break so deep you could drown in it. He wasn't killing people. He was weeding the collection. I found a drawer marked pending. Inside was a file for Elena Martinez. Genre, femme fatale. Disposition, archive permanently. The realization hit me harder than the whiskey. Elena wasn't just the client, she was the next chapter. Sebastian believed she was playing a role, and he intended to write her ending. The psychology of this despair wasn't grand. It was pathetic. A small man trying to play God with a Dewey Decimal System. I drove toward Elena's house, the tires screeching against the wet asphalt. In a noir story, violence is the punctuation mark, and I was about to put a period at the end of this sentence. You chase the truth hoping for salvation, but usually, all you find is a mirror showing you how ugly the world really is. The confrontation happened in Elena's living room. Sebastian Reed was there, holding a syringe like it was a fountain pen. He was explaining to her in a calm, terrifying monotone that her character arc was complete. She was tied to a chair, her eyes wide with the realization that the man she thought was her mentor was actually her executioner. I kicked the door in. It's a cliché, sure, but it works. Libraries closed, Sebastian, I growled, leveling my .38 at his chest. He looked at me with genuine disappointment. You? He sneered. The cynical detective, page 45 of a pulp magazine. Predictable. Maybe, I said, but at least I'm still in print. He lunged. I fired. The shot was deafening in the small room. Sebastian fell back, knocking over a vase of white lilies. He didn't die instantly. He lay there, gasping, trying to straighten his tie, trying to maintain order until the very last breath. The police arrived 10 minutes later, sirens wailing a discordant song. The aftermath was technical and cold. We found Sebastian's manifesto. He believed humanity had lost its narrative structure. He was killing people to force them into the archetypes he believed they represented. Owen Foster died because he was too mundane for Sebastian's dramatic world. Elena survived, but the look in her eyes had changed. She wasn't the innocent assistant anymore. She had seen the abyss. I met her one last time to hand over the final report. She looked older. He was right about one thing, she whispered, lighting a cigarette with a shaking hand. I am a tragic figure now. We all are, kid, I said, pocketing my fee. It just depends on who's writing the book. The case of the librarian is closed. But the city? The city is still open for business. The rain hasn't stopped. It just washes the blood into the sewers where it belongs. Solving a crime doesn't fix the world. It just clears the docket for the next disaster. Telling this story, it's like picking a scab. It bleeds, it stings, and it reminds you that you're still alive. I do it because someone has to remember the names that get crossed out. Sebastian wanted to file people away. I'm here to make sure the pages stay open, no matter how dirty they get. There's a new envelope under my door. I can see the corner of it from here. Probably another husband cheating, or another kid missing, or another psycho who thinks he's Napoleon. The phone is going to ring. The night is young, and my bottle is empty. So, here is the deal. To keep this office open, to keep me digging through the trash while you sleep soundly in your beds, I need you to keep listening. Subscribe. Share this transmission. Send a signal that you want the truth, even if it hurts. That's all for now. Kill the lights, lock your doors, and pray you don't fit anyone else's genre. I'm gonna get a drink.